everybody. Welcome to the Learning Pro Live. My name's Cath Ellis, and my guest hasn't appeared today. The first time I'm ever doing a live stream, and my guest hasn't even appeared. Well, that's okay. Today, we're going to talk about DevTools. And if anything, I can kind of share what I know about DevTools. And if you guys want to join in on the conversation, that's absolutely cool. Yo, Simon, how are you? Great to see you tune in. Yeah, my guest didn't rock up today, which is really disappointing. But that's all right. If he turns up, I'll add him. So that's all good. So we're talking about DevTools, and it's something that I use on a very regular basis, and is a really good tool for you to know. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We've got Simon. I know we've got other viewers here, so let us know where you're tuning in from, whether you've used DevTools, whether... Oh, here you go. We got Leonard. How you going, Leonard? Good to see you. And of course, Simon is all good. So, yeah, so, DevTools is something that I don't have a massive amount of experience with, but I'll impart what I know. Hopefully, if Greg turns up, we'll add him in. If not, no dramas. So let me share my desktop and we'll have a look at DevTools. All right, bear with me. I'm just going to bring up a website that I can kind of use as an example. I'll just maybe use my website. It's easy enough. Yo, Chris. Yeah. Well, I'll try, that's for sure. All right, so if I just share my screen. All right, so here we go. Let me take off all this stuff. So we've got a nice clean interface. Okay. What am I doing? Okay, so here we go. So we've got my website up, and DevTools is nice and easy to use. Let's just click on inspect. So what DevTools allows you to do is, in the past, to do a bit of testing, if I was doing a kind of, let's say I was doing this website and I wanted to see what it looked like on a mobile device, or if I wanted to look at it on a tablet form, in the past I'd have to pay for a device, so on and so forth. Pay for a tool that I could do some testing. I might even look at it on my own phone, etc. But there are some tools within Chrome that you can do some of this testing. And this is using this little toggle device toolbar here. So if I click on that, you can see it's changed it's changed how this is looking, and I can change it from an iPhone to some different devices here. So let's have a look. So I can even add some new devices on here. Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's got things like pixels, it's got galaxies, so if there's maybe a device that I'm wanting to look at, an iPad mini, for example, I can add that onto my list. And here I can actually select it as an iPhone mini. I can also do some things, adjusting the dimensions, so now I can change it and rotate it. And you might find this quite useful, especially a lot of the tools that we're actually checking out as e-learning designers and developers. Let us know, guys. I know Simon's all over this, but let us know, Chris and Leonard, is this something that you use a lot? Do you use the DevTools, or how do you do your testing? Or how do you make changes on the fly? I mean, obviously, when we're using authoring tools, we can't make these changes to, we can't make a lot of changes because we're in other authoring tools. But certainly when I do web development, I'm using this a lot. So, okay, cool. We can have a look at these different kind of formats. And I find this really, really helpful. Another thing that I find very, very helpful is, let's refresh this. Sometimes it just plays up a little bit. Okay, so let's say another thing that I want to do is I just want to have a little play around with the different formatting of things. I might even want to see what does this look like with a different font. So what you can do, I always say, don't be nervous using some of these tools. Here you go. Chris is saying experience with DevTools is 0%. Well, Chris, you might find this useful. I like this a lot. And I especially like it to work out how people have done things. Like I said, Simon would be more on top of this than me, maybe. But anyway, we're all good. So here's how I work things out. If, for example, this is someone's website, and I'm going, okay, I wonder how they did this. Now I showed you a number of Chrome plugins. Leonard's saying I haven't had much experience with DevTools, learning heaps already. Cool. All right. So there's different things that I'll do. Yeah, I use these Chrome plugins. I showed you what the font, and I can click on here and I can see the types of what font someone's using. I may even want to know what color someone's used somewhere. And I could even like I showed you in the last video, if I'm wanting to know exactly what the padding and things on items, that's great. But what if I actually want to make some changes to the website? It didn't like me doing that. Come on, refresh. Okay, so there's different things that we can do, and look, it's really good to have a good idea of little bits of CSS, especially when you start working in authoring tools like Adapt and Evolve, and even when you're starting to work with tools outside like Glide apps. Okay, having some good being able to identify what are some CSS elements are really useful, because you can really start enhancing on these things. So for example, if I take this little element tool, so here we toggled to see different devices. Well, here we can actually click on here and we can select on different elements, and you can see it's highlighting, right? So see how it's got that image starting dash logo dark version. So these are all the different CSS elements here. Okay, so this is again just this little envelope, and here we've got an H2. So this is a pretty meaty one. Let's click on this. Okay, so if I click on this, what it'll actually do is it will give me some information on where, if I made a change to this, where it's actually being changed. So at the moment, okay, it's saying the color's white, which we know it is, FFF, right? The font family is Poppins. Now let's just say, I say, I'd like to see what this would look like with Cara North's favorite font, which is Permanent Marker. I'm being facetious. She hates this font. So if I go Permanent Marker, right, so you see how that's changed. And I like this because it means that I can kind of have a little look and see what would this look like in another font, you know? So let's just change this. We'll maybe make it Montserrat. I think Montserrat and Poppins are quite similar. So, you know, okay, Montserrat, changed it from Poppins. And you go, oh, you know, I'd really like to know what this would look like if I made this heading and I'll tell you this is making changes. They're not permanent changes, they're minor changes. Okay, so you know we've got different font weights. I should also explain this. So font weights are you know, when you go to for example Google Fonts, and it'll say Montserrat Black or Montserrat Light. Okay, so if we just have a look at Montserrat, these are your different font weights. So you see thin is 100, light 500, 700, you know, up to 900. So let's say I say, well, I'd like to see, I'm just going to hover this again. I'd like to see what this would look like in 400. Okay, so these are different ways that you can yeah, no, Simon, stylish app is really good as well. I'll show them that as well. That's a great point. These so there's different ways you can do this. Okay, you can use the DevTools in itself, or you can use apps. Whether it's that stylish app, or coming in here. Thanks, Simon, for that. So there's different things that you can do that are quite powerful, you know, and it's not just changing fonts. You know, you might say text transform. Okay, and we want to actually see what this looks like as a in uppercase. Okay, so you can see there's lots of different things that you can change. Anything CSS you can change. Now you can start to dig a lot deeper, in which you can actually pull the JavaScript from the back of a website. But what I'm going to do, since I don't have my partner in crime joining me today, is I'm just going to jump onto I'm just going to jump onto DevTools, and I'll go through this with you. Okay. So you can see that I'm showing you just very simple functions. Okay. With regards to, you can see actually here, right? So the different things that you can do. Right. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Right? And I'd say that the majority of the time, you're not going to need any of this stuff. I mean, Simon, do you do any of this work within DevTools with regards to debugging and stuff like that? I mean, the majority of the time when I'm doing my website and things like that, I may be looking for errors. Okay, so again, if we go back to my site, sometimes you may see issues and errors. Another thing is you can make this bigger if you feel like you don't have enough room. Okay. All right. So my site looks like it's got some things going with it pretty much all the time. Yep. So you're using it for other things. I mean, for me, I'm generally using it on a fairly low level. Okay, there are times, okay, that you can do a significant amount of digging into people's websites to work out what they've done. You know, whether it's JavaScript and things like that. What I'd say to you is there's certainly no harm in kind of snooping around people's websites. So let's have a look. Let me have a think about whose website I can open up. If I go to something like, yeah, so Simon's saying the console is a great way to test for issues around things like loading, scripts, imaging, code, etc. Yeah. I should have you come on here, Simon, to help me out. So absolutely, you can do a lot of different things with it. Now bear with me. I'm just going to think about a website that I can open to just do a bit of testing. I don't want to open someone's website. So this was an interesting one that I thought was really cool. And let's just bring this up. So this was an something that someone shared. Was it Cara North who shared this, Simon, yesterday? And I thought this was really nice. So I was having a look at it. And it's basically a chap who has put this resource together about design basics. Okay. Now, what I tend to do is if I'm working on something, I might try and suss out, oh, okay, how's this person done this? Right. So I'll start digging around a little bit. And I bet you I won't find anything, but I'll give this a whirl. So sometimes there might even be a plugin that you want to work out that someone's using. Okay. And I'll take a look through it and see if I can identify is it something that someone's used that is you know, has been written pure, or is it a plugin that they've used? And again, if I go back to my website, there's times that you might find something, right? For example, this down here, okay? And if I actually click over this, okay, so see that MC4WP? See that? So I'll go, that's interesting. Let's work out what that is, MC4WP. So it's brought up a hit. MailChimp for WordPress. Okay, so that's how you can find this really useful. And that's certainly the level that I go to, and maybe not as knowledgeable as Simon is with regards to testing and things, but I'll fish around and I'll work out without having to reach out to someone and say, how did you do that? I'll try and suss things out myself by using tools like this. Okay. So again, if I just go over here to this DMCA, okay, you can find things, you can work out, you know, what are the scripts and different things here. All right. So I've spoken to you guys before about someone tried to copy my website. So, you know, I've put this script on. It just helps me be a little bit more knowledgeable about what people are doing out there. So again, if we come back here and I'm clicking over here, it's not telling me much. Right? So I'm going, okay, you know. So if I go, okay, let's have a look. So he's actually put this here. So maybe that's what it is. He embedded Adobe XD into it. Yeah, there you go. So this chap has actually created an Adobe XD, which is really cool. And he's embedded it into his website. Now he's actually gone ahead and he's shared that down here. But this was something that I was going to come in and use DevTools to use. Right? So that's really cool. Let's see if we can find another website. I've got a lot of rubbish here. Let's see. All right, let's have a look at this. So this is just a theme that I was looking at yesterday. And again, I might want to work out how someone's done something on the website, or if this is a native plugin, or if this is something that is external. So you can even work out lots of cool things. For example, if I hovered over this element, okay, it should give me some information about what's happening here. If I just bring this in, see what's happening there. It's moved it to the left, and it's kept some information to the right. Sometimes I like to have this above, and this is where I get my information from. So what I'm trying to find out here is what is the percentage of transparency that they've put on here, okay? So if I'm coming down here and I'm just taking a look. Okay. All right, so here, this looks like it's actually an image. You see, there's no transparency here. I thought that because you can normally see a percentage. Okay, so this should have a transparency over the image. We look at this one. Oh, okay, that's unusual. All right. So to give you an idea, what I was looking for there, if I right click on mine, what I'm essentially looking for okay. So I know that the image does not have that. I know that this image doesn't have a. It's not finished that way. So I'm trying to find the transparency on here. I'm probably going a very long-winded way around it. This is the way that I generally work. Well, that's a pain. Is it here? Sometimes it's doing a little bit of fishing, guys. Maybe that's it. No, right? That's the wrong thing. Let me just refresh this. Would you do a search for opacity in the code? Not from here, I don't think. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Well, anyway, I've made a mock-up of that. So I'm sorry about that. For some reason, I just can't find it. And I know it is here. Right, so that's my image. Index height. Margin. Okay, so that's the color. Anyway, guys, I've gone and chosen one that's a bloody pain. Here you go. Oh, opacity 06. So if I make it, for example, 9, you can see it's much darker. If I make it lighter. So sometimes it's really nice to do some working out, some fishing, so you can work out how other people do it and you can apply things to your own website. So to be honest, you don't have to do things like this to images because they look really bad. And once you've made the change, you can't get it back. Okay. So that's the benefit of being able to do some of this stuff. So for example, if you wanted to change it, if you're doing an upgrade to your website, you want to change it, you can do it within code. Okay. What are some of the other things? Like Simon says, you can really dig quite deep with scripting and code. I don't have any examples that I can go in and I can show you, but it is something that's pretty interesting. Once if you do find some code and then trying to pull it out, I don't have any examples that I can show you. Let's have a look. But as far as the tools that I use frequently, they're really the key ones. I want to be able to change colors. I want to be able to even move and change the padding. So for example, I'll just show you that. If you can see what I'm basically doing and where it can get a bit complicated, is that's fairly easy to select, okay? And it will select up here the element, the div that you've actually chosen, okay? And here are the properties of that div. If you're selecting, for example, something like this, it can be harder because see here, that was me selecting the header. And this is me selecting the body. Now you can even do things like you can start reordering some of this stuff, but it gets really messy, right? It gets really, really messy. So I don't generally do that kind of stuff. I keep it a lot more basic. Certainly for the things that I need it for, it does it well. Like I said, my apologies for not having Greg here to be able to share more. But I hope that this has been useful at very least. do you guys have any questions? I know we've got people tuning in right now. Do you have any questions about what I've showed you? You know, I'm quite happy to kind of go through how you can work out how to change certain things. I can even show you the Stylish, which is another Chrome plugin. Let me just close these down. Right, Simon showed me this a number of years ago when we worked together, and I was wanting to make changes, pardon me, in Adapt, and he suggested this, or he suggested one that was similar. I'm losing my voice, my apologies. So let's just install this. Okay, so I'm going to go down to Stylish, and I'm just going to pin it to my board, bring it over here. Okay. So once you've got your site, you can go out of DevTools and you can use this. So let's say agree. Okay. So this is turning it on and off. Create a new style. Cath. Yeah. This has been a while since I've used this, Simon. Yeah. So I'm out of practice using Stylish. So I mean, for me, I find it so easy to just go to DevTools and to just work in it this way. Like I said, I find it great. I use it specifically as well to screen capture things. So let's say, I've got a mock-up that I want to do. I might use this and then use a full page screen capture like that. And now I've got a nice screen capture that I can use and put onto a device. And I find that really useful. Si, do you want to jump on and help me? If you've got 10 minutes. I'm just gonna see if Simon will come on and show us a couple of things. Bear with me one moment. He'll be like, no, I don't want to come on. I've just sent you a link, Simon. I think this is a good topic. I think a lot of learning designers, we don't want to do, we feel like we're going to break something, and I certainly feel comfortable getting around it, but I'm not doing anything like probably to the level that Simon's doing. So if you can give us 15 minutes, Simon, that would be great. Here we go. He'll be here in a second. G'day.
Hey, how are you?
Long time no see.
It's been a while.
I know. So I mean, I'm not even getting into it too deep. Do you want to show a few tricks?
I think, look, you've covered a lot of it. I think the one thing that I suppose you can add to it is if you sort of know a bit of JavaScript, you can actually start to add jQuery to sort of some of the pages using the console. That's kind of what I use it a lot for. So if I go to, let me just tee something up and then I'll show you. Hang on.
All right, cool. Yeah, so well, that few, I'm glad that I actually did give it a bit of useful information. Even if you can demo that app as well.
Yes.
Do you remember when we used it on a deck that time?
Yeah, and that's when I really made the most of it. A lot of the time, we've restyled the LMS we use at work, and it basically encompasses like this about 1,000 lines of CSS, and I gradually over time just kept adding to it using the stylish app. So what I'll do is give me 2 seconds. Let me just tee something up. Hang on. Here we go. So I'm using your site as a dummy. So
yeah, no dramas.
Okay. So let me just share my screen. Hang on a sec. Screen. Right, can we see that?
Absolutely.
So I've got Stylish installed, as you already covered. So I've actually got Stylish installed for, and if I go to this, funnily enough, this is a bit meta, but I'll do it anyway. I've actually got Stylish installed for Stylish. So if you go to, if I go back to manage, I've got a bunch of sites here. I've got one for Rise, because whenever we do a Rise package, we just add a bit of coding over the top that just styles it to make things a bit neater, because Rise is notoriously strict in terms of how it looks. So I like to add just a bit of our own touch to it. But Stylish has one anyway. So if I go to Stylish, what happens if I disable this? It won't do it now. But what tends to happen is that this whole big mirror here goes really small, and it's very hard to do coding. So I've just actually made this one, which is Code Mirror 750, important. So it just overwrites other CSS styles. But if I did something like this, like you were getting to it before. So if I go back to manage and then go write a new style, call it that, and then what I would normally do is like what you were describing here. If I go to inspect and then look for the font that you're using, so for your H2 styles here, you've got Poppins. What I would usually do is something like this. So I'd right click here, I'd copy. Actually, what I'd probably do is once I've identified the H2, and it highlights as you're going over it. So once I highlight here, you'll see that the instructional designer and developer highlights. Copy that, put it here, and I change that to Comic Sans because, you know, why not? And I'll put an important over the top, and if I press save.
Oh my God, guys, this is my worst nightmare.
Okay, so I don't have Comic Sans installed, but maybe what I could do is actually, I think I need to put some quotes on it. Hang on. Possibly. No, didn't do it. Well, let's do something else. Let's do Wingdings or something like that. Oh, hang on. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. There we go. So I've done it in the DevTools here. But if I then go to here and copy that and say it's Wingdings here, and I save that, only in my browser, granted, but it's a good way to do testing.
Yeah.
It'll always show that. It should anyway.
So in DevTools, guys, it's just temporary. So if you refresh your page, it actually will go away.
It all goes away.
So what Stylish is doing is allowing you to kind of, let's say you're working on something. Oh, Troy Ashman's laughing his ass off, going, "That makes sense."
Thought he might like that.
It's Stylish is allowing you, let's say, like Simon's working on Rise, and he's put a Stylish theme together. He can just keep building on that and building on that. He might work out, oh, I can do this now. I can do this now. Just allows you to save your code without losing it and testing it as you go. So
it's taking a while, but hang on. There we go. So that's on my browser, because this is set to enable. That's permanently going to show that unless I turn it off. Now, obviously, it's taking a while. This happened yesterday. I think it's StreamYard when it's on. It saps my computer of life. But yeah. So that's a kind of an easy way to sort of just gradually build on code. And if I show you one that I did for some of our Rise packages, here it is here.
Yep.
This is all the code that I've got on my Rise package. And what I end up, and I've done that just for testing purposes, but then what happens is that when we export a Rise package, I'll actually go into the code pre-zipping it in SCORM and add it, which is probably an episode for another day, but just purely for testing purposes, this is a really good way just to get a certain style, on your Rise packages, just if you want to add just a color here or a color there. I'm just trying to bring one up in another window just so you can see it. But that's kind of what I use it for.
That's great.
Yeah. And if I was to go to the console here, so as you were alluding to before, you've got, is it sources? Hang on. No, it's console. So sources, again, is another way to, like you were talking about, it's a good way to look at what code is behind the scenes. If you're a bit of a code junkie, it's kind of, it's not for everyone, but I find this sort of stuff interesting. So if you sort of want to learn a bit of JavaScript, you might not get to the Devlin Peck level, but you can sort of, start to, delve into looking at loops and looking at what, see, this is function init in here, which usually means that gets called as soon as the page gets called. And a lot of these things are built dynamically when you're building a site. But if you are doing a deep dive, you can look at, okay, well, you're importing fonts like Open Sans and Poppins. And if you are looking at JavaScript kind of stuff, or images that have been installed, things like that. That's kind of where you do your deep dive here, just to get some of that. And then if you go to console, one more thing, hang on. Where is it? Sorry, bear with me for a sec. It's not here. So if I'm showing, okay. So what you've also got here is you can do things like calling stuff from JavaScript to the console. So a good way of doing some bug testing if you're looking at a system is to sort of add alerts or console logs. So a console log will come into here. So if I'll probably go to CodePen would probably be the easiest way to show this as an example. If you were to just create a quick CodePen that would just open a console log, you'll actually see it in the console. So it's a good way to do testing to see if what code's getting called, what code isn't getting called. So in this case here, if we put something like in the JavaScript side of things, we put console log testing. And I think it automatically refreshes, but it's here. So actually, what you'll see is this word testing that pops up in your console log. So that as a piece of JavaScript will then show up here. So when you're doing big reams of code, you can just put these at breakpoints just to see what's getting called, what isn't getting called. So that's just like an interesting way. So if I change this to change, it'll start again, it'll refresh, and then you'll see change come up here. So just in terms of a debugging sort of sense, that's a good way to do that. And also, if you want to change something on the fly with your JavaScript here, I think there is jQuery installed. Sorry if I'm going a bit too fast or if I'm jumping ahead.
This is all nerdy stuff, man. This is all.
it is a bit. So, like if we were to just do like JavaScript change background color, for instance.
Yeah.
And you just download it, just like copy a really quick example of how you do it. We say, all right, document body background color is red. If we then go here, you can actually put that straight there. Well, it should anyway, here's my understanding. Is red. No. If you do get to a good bit of JavaScript, you can actually just put it straight in here and it does what it's supposed to do. So, like, you know, changing, you know, background colors, size of things. And another really cool way of testing to see buttons, for instance, is for your page here. If you want to see the hover and the press down values, because there would be a hover style, or maybe there isn't. I wonder if it's just somewhere on your site you've got a hover thing. So here you've got a hover. So when you do hover over it, it goes red. So you then go, where are we here? Hover, toggle element state. And you got hover, and then what that'll show is the style of it when it's actually being hovered over.
Yeah.
I use that for sort of see what the transitions are when people are. So if I go right, inspect that element, it should go right down and highlight that one, and then it'll do hover.
Yeah.
Or is it? It's the whole thing actually. And there you go. So what's saying is that the box shadow goes red, and then you can then change that to blue. Oh, hang on.
It can be a bit temperamental, guys, when you type in it.
So yeah, you can see that. So what we've done is actually the box shadow has turned blue. So that's kind of the way I use it for, you know, for delving into things and for changing stuff. And if I just I'm just firing up a rise package on the sly. So
I can tell already that Troy Ashman's going to be loving seeing how you're making changes to Rise.
Yeah, I would assume that Troy's all over this kind of stuff, just by seeing some of his other work. So what we've done is that we've got just a bit of a rounded corner. We've got our corporate sort of color of blue, just, you know, on the header, just to make it stand out a bit more. And if I go here, and I'll just turn it off on the other side, and you'll see sort of what happens is that I'll turn off this. I'll disable the style, and see how it changes.
Yep.
So that's how I've built a certain style for our Rise packages. Now I add that to the Scorn package so that when you see it, that code's already in there. But for the purpose of testing, that's kind of how I've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some of the ways I
show
use
us what other things have you done, if you can. Have you done any big changes in Rise?
So
you could add background colors and
background. So what I did, I actually sent this through to Troy, actually, funnily enough, just as an example of doing pop-ups. Actually, this won't be here. So if I go to my Amazon page, hang on a second, we'll just fire it up in the background. But in terms of style and things like that, it's nothing major, but just little tweaks here and there. So just having a nice sort of, you know, like a flat color here, and just fixing up some of the sizing and things like that. And we've just made some of the section color, the buttons. Again, like I was saying yesterday, I'm a bit of a pillist, so what I like to do is have the, these rounded and things like that. Just very little things. So I haven't done anything major, but yeah, that's pretty much kind of what I've used it for predominantly, and just to do debugging really. And if I go to sorry, just doing something on the side here. So if I was to, for instance, identify a image here, just going back to the JavaScript, making some JavaScript run in the console, directly in the console. So it's being a bit slow. Sorry, it's been very slow. Think we're getting anywhere. Let me just bring this to the other side, just to see if I can expand it.
Okay.
There we go. So,
Troy, if you're tuning in, have you been playing around with this stuff?
get element by ID.
I said I've seen some great examples in Rise where people have removed the massive section headers, changed button styles. It adds a nice polished touch.
Yep.
And really what Simon's showing is he needed these dev tools to be able to get to that point of getting that code. So he would have utilized the dev tools to then put that into stylish so that he can switch that style on and off as and when he needs, and he won't lose it.
Just looking up a bit of JavaScript code just to prove it, just give an example.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
So what's this you're going to do, Simon?
I'm trying to see if I'm going to give a test run now, just to see if it runs. No, I didn't do it. Opacity. Lock image. No, I didn't do it. Look, it's just a matter of finding an image or an image class, and then just setting its opacity using JavaScript to just the opacity of the image to lower, I suppose. It's just to provide an example of sort of being able to add code after the fact just to test things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really want to play ball at the moment. So, as is always the way. But if I say class name image, yeah, it's not playing ball. That's all right. But yeah, I have used it in the past with just wanting to just to test code to see how it would look if I added a button, added something on a click or something like that. That would do it.
Yeah.
It's an easier way to sort of test it, I suppose, if you don't have access to sort of the back end of things, which some people don't. So, yeah, that's it.
Well, this has been brilliant, Simon. Thank you so much for coming on and adding a bit of value to, I was at a point where I was like, oh, I don't really know the coding stuff. Is there anything else that people really need to know about the DevTools? So what's the difference between someone, because back in the day, like I've been developing websites for a long time, back in the day, you'd go to open up the source, and you'd look at that. But now I don't really go into the source unless I'm trying to find a URL to copy it or something like that. And I can't find it because it's locked in a window. So I'll open a source then. Can you explain the difference between the two?
Well, the source code is everything that you see behind the scenes, I suppose. So, I mean, if we did for your site, for instance, what you see here is the source code. But what it is that it is laid out with the correct syntax, which is HTML in this case. So. And with the DevTools, it enables you, once you highlight something in Chrome anyway, that it will highlight on the page where you're selecting. So it's just a bit of a neater way to look at code behind the scenes. And if you're looking at the source code, so if I was to right click and look at the source code, which you can do, I think it's view page source, it's just going to give you a text file that's going to have just a lot of text, which is that. Now, that in itself is valuable to a certain degree because you can just copy and paste this kind of stuff if you want to get some of the code, if you know what it is that you're looking for. But if it isn't, then yeah, it can kind of be gobbledygook, I suppose. Like here, for instance, you can get some of the high level kind of styling, of the site, but you're not going to be able to really drill down like you were doing before.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, guys, you'd actually have to go in, change that code, and then upload it into a browser.
Yeah.
I mean, that is very old school kind of way of doing it.
Yeah.
And that would make the change.
So that would be the difference there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Simon. 2 days in a row. My God. I tell you, that would be another episode that I'm sure people would be chomping at the bit if you were generous enough to help show how you make some changes to Rise. We'll think about doing that, and even maybe we'll get the three of us on. We'll get Troy on as well.
I'm sure he's got a lot to add to that. Yeah,
he's really in this space of hacking things to death. We could even get the Wonder Boy Devlin Peck on as well, and the four of us can talk about it. But it's certainly an interesting topic, and I think that you know, I'd certainly encourage you guys, anything that you do is just temporary. You're not going to break anything. So don't be scared to go in and look and see how people are doing things. Make some minor changes. You know, it will help you and make you feel stronger when you're actually creating your own designs. If you can understand a little bit of CSS and really work out what people are doing.
I think at a minimum, if you just sort of get your head around what you can and can't do, then it just adds to the skill set, I suppose, of, you know, you can just make changes here and there that can just, it can be all very, very subtle, but I mean, you know, subtlety is definitely, it makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Oh, here we go. We've got Leonard saying, yes, please, Rise is so stubborn. I'm going to play around with it and see what I can manipulate. I think that's what's on my wish list. I wish that Rise did have a CSS component to it, that those who can can make changes. A bit like Learning Pools Adapt. You know, Adapt doesn't have it, but Learning Pools does. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to enhance my courses the way that I do. So,
I do find Rise to be quite annoying in that aspect. It's just so strict in terms of what you can and can't do. And I did add a pop-up element to it, because you can't even like click on an image to have it pop up to a bigger size. I mean, you can with certain things, but I added that as an extra just so that, you know, so because you can, and it just adds an extra bit of functionality. So yeah, there's a bit of scope there, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to have David Anderson come on very soon. I'm talking to him, we're scheduling a time. So I'll bombard him with, when are you going to do it, David? Come on.
Well overdue.
We'll get everyone, come on, just come and ask David what you want. He'll be like, no, I'm not coming anymore. So, but thank you, Simon. That's great. And you know, I'd encourage you all, have a little play around with DevTools. It's a lot of fun. I'll put a video from probably someone a lot more professional than me who can explain DevTools better. You know, like Troy's just said, you know, it's a great tool out of the box. But it can be pretty neat if you can change elements. Annoying, it seems Articulate changes some of their code when updating, and that's probably why they don't have it there.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Troy, and I think this is what Troy's hinting to. I've added a lot of code to Storyline to remove the player and to just add a background image and to put the menus up into, like, to make it a more full browser experience. And every time they do an update, it's like you have to redo that process, because they update how it outputs all of the code and how it all sits. And I've made that mistake a couple of times, and I've had to roll back just so I can get something out. I've had to roll back the version, which you can do with Articulate Storyline.
Did you know though that you can save? So I've got a little XML called Chromeless. So I've done all my settings, and then under the player in Articulate, I've exported. Let me show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you while you're here.
I'll actually bring something up myself.
So I don't do it. I just add one single bit of code, and it does it for me.
Right.
So if I, for example, just open a new project. Share screen. Okay, so here we've got a new project, and if I view it, okay, this is what I have, okay, and I don't want that. So what I do is I go to my player, okay, and what I do is I've actually created something that I call Chromeless.
Yep.
And it's basically, I've gone into the, where is it? I've gone into all of the effects. Oh, it's really in the classic player. So I've gone into here and I've changed, what is it? It's been ages since I've done it. Now, where is it where you go and you change all of the elements?
I think it's under advanced. Is it advanced color editing? Under color and effect? The line.
Oh, yeah. So I've changed all this. I've actually saved it as a file. So all I do is I click this. I did this actually when I was working with you. And there you go. It's just gone.
Yeah.
So it means that I just have to import that file. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can save it. Export. And it's actually an XML. If that's something you guys want, I'll stick it in the description. But that saves me so much time at the start of each project that I just load that, and now did I not apply it? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, and then I sort of started to then play around with the CSS, and I did it using Stylish basically, and just started to play around with how it would look if I changed this or I changed that. And if I can share my screen, I'll show you sort of an example. Where is it? So that's kind of. That's just kind of, you know, so that's storylines. That's opened up full size, and I've put the background image in there, and I've got, you know, the glossary items, and I've just added our own styling to it, really. And then we've got, you know, the menu that's, so everything here is just all done using CSS from the outside, and that works great. And so, so the background sort of changes when you then leave. When you leave the front page, the background changes to something that's slightly more opaque, and then, you know, and it goes back to home, you know, like that. So what happens is that when they update this version, the coding that goes to style all this to make it what it is all changes. So you kind of have to reinvent the wheel. And I'm sure that there's a better way to do it anyway, but that's kind of the way I did it anyway.
Well, that's great. I mean, even the fact that you can get this full screen.
That's what I was really going for, just something that doesn't look like a traditional e-learning module, I suppose, in a sense that it's more of a web browser experience as opposed to it being, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. I just sort of wanted to try and see what could be done.
Yeah. Troy's saying he loves the full browser experience.
Yeah.
And these are all the native functions, the glossary and the resources.
Yeah. So basically, that is stuff that in the player you would normally see, and I've just restyled them using Font Awesome, and then adding the code afterwards. So it'll give you your help page, which is your lightbox effect, and then you want to quit the screen, and it'll then take you to the exit page. You know, things like that.
Cool.
Yeah. So,
looks really awesome. Slick.
Oh, that's what I was going for. So So
that's what's great.
That's what the benefit of using tools like Stylish is that you can just keep testing it, and if something's not working, or if you resize it and you see that it's not working, you can add the media queries in just to make sure that everything's like stacking nicely. So not only is it working full browser, it's working mobile and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool, so man. As always, Simon, you are the best.
Oh, thank you. Very kind. Sure, there are better, but that's okay. I'll take it for today.
No, that's great. That's great. I really appreciate this. I mean, I think that that's been a nice add-on to talking about DevTools. So thank you so much for coming on and saving my bacon. I'll let you get back to work. Your boss is going to be like, 2 days in a row. What's going on?
She won't know until she sees it on LinkedIn, possibly. But don't share anything.
But if you are really interested in finding out a bit more, reach out to Simon. I'll put his details, and I'll get him back on, and I'll get him to show us some more tricks. Ooh. He's really phenomenal designer. Thanks, Simon. Thanks very much.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
All right, I will sign off now, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Don't get into too much trouble. All right. Bye.
Bye.